Stop thinking you already know what works, because what she actually feels and what she's never said out loud, it will rewrite every assumption you've been holding. You've seen her breath change. You felt her pull closer, then suddenly drift. That pause, that's not shyness. That's her waiting for one thing you've missed. And once you learn these 5 secrets, she won't just stay. She'll crave your presence before you even touch her. Welcome back to Feminine Insight, the space where we listen to what she rarely says out loud. Here's the truth most people never hear. A woman's arousal begins between her ears, not her legs. So before any technique, there's a psychological switch only you can flip. Let's go inside her unspoken map. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and you can immediately tell if something is off? That is exactly what her nervous system does the moment intimacy becomes possible. Before any touch, before any word is spoken, her brain runs a silent, lightning fast checklist. And the very first item on that list is safety. Not just physical safety, though that matters. I am talking about emotional safety, the kind that lets her exhale completely. Here is what most people never realize. A woman can be incredibly attracted to someone, genuinely want to be close, and still feel her body hesitate. That hesitation is not rejection. It is her ancient protective wiring. Her jaw might tighten without her noticing. Her shoulders might inch up toward her ears. Her hands might grip the bedsheet or her own thigh. Those tiny tensions are her system saying, "Not yet. I am not fully sure I can let go." So the secret is not to push past that tension. The secret is to give her something she can unconsciously mirror: a slow, visible, steady exhale.
When you breathe out with control and softness, her mirror neurons fire. Her breath begins to sync with yours. Her jaw softens. Her neck relaxes. You have not done anything technically impressive. You have simply shown her without a single word that you are present and not rushing anywhere. That is the foundation. Without it, no technique matters. With it, everything else becomes possible. You know that tiny sound she makes, barely audible? Or the way her hips shift just an inch closer? That is what I call a micro yes. It is not a loud moan or a clear verbal instruction. It is something much smaller and much more honest. Most people miss it entirely because they are too focused on what they are doing next. Here is the common mistake. The moment someone senses any positive response, the instinct is to speed up, press harder, or change rhythm dramatically. That seems logical, right? She liked that, so give her more of it faster. But here is what actually happens inside her experience. That sudden acceleration feels like pressure. It feels like someone is now performing toward a goal instead of staying with her in the moment. And that feeling makes her micro yes disappear. The real secret is almost the opposite of what feels natural. When you notice that tiny shift, that small breath, that subtle movement toward you, you do not speed up. You stay exactly where you are, same rhythm, same pressure, same pace, for 3 full cycles. What that does psychologically is send her a silent message. It says, I noticed you. I am not chasing an ending. I am right here with you. And that consistency allows her to relax even deeper. Her next micro yes will be slightly louder. Her body will trust the pacing. You are not performing for her. You are listening with your whole presence. And that is something she almost never experiences. Most people assume that more direct pressure in one concentrated spot is what builds intensity. That makes sense on the surface. You find the area that seems most sensitive and you focus there with purpose. But here is what actually happens inside her body when you do that. Her nerves get overwhelmed very quickly. Too much direct stimulation in the exact same place sends a signal that says, Warning, not pleasure. She will often shift her hips away or gently guide your hand without even realizing she is doing it. The approach that works with her natural wiring is completely different. Think of drawing a wide, soft arc rather than aiming at a single bullseye. Start in places that feel unrelated. Low on her stomach, the inside of her thigh, the soft curve just above her hip bone. These areas are packed with nerve endings too, but they do not trigger that defensive response. They trigger curiosity and relaxation. She starts to wonder where you are going next. That wondering is arousal. From there, you sweep in a pattern that changes direction and width constantly. Cursive letters instead of crosshairs. Wide circles that slowly narrow, then widen again, just when she expects you to commit. The inconsistency is the secret. Her body cannot predict what comes next, so her brain stays engaged. And when her brain stays engaged, her physical response deepens naturally. You are not attacking a target. You are painting a landscape she wants to keep exploring. That is the difference between a reflex and a memory she will think about later. The natural assumption is that more movement equals more pleasure. Constant motion, steady rhythm, no breaks. That seems logical. But watch what actually happens when someone never pauses. She might stay responsive for a while, but eventually her body starts to feel like it is being chased. The sensation blurs together. Her mind drifts. And the intensity actually flattens out instead of climbing higher. Now, imagine the opposite for a moment. Everything is flowing. Her breathing has changed. You can feel her body responding, and then you simply stop. Completely still, no movement at all for 2 full seconds. In those 2 seconds, something remarkable happens inside her experience. Her brain goes from receiving sensation to anticipating it. That switch from passive to active is everything. She is no longer just feeling what you are doing. She is wanting what comes next. And wanting is far more powerful than feeling. The stillness itself becomes the most intense part of the entire rhythm. But here is what makes it work. You do not look away during that pause. You do not check your hand position or adjust anything. You hold her gaze with soft, steady attention. That eye contact during the stillness tells her nervous system one clear thing. You are not stopping because you are unsure. You are stopping because you are completely present and completely in control of your own patience. That presence relaxes her deeper than any technique ever could. When you finally do begin moving again, even the lightest touch will feel electric because her body has been waiting for it. The pause is not empty time. It is the most full time of all. Most people assume that the most important moments happen during the peak of intensity. But what I have learned is that the moments right after matter just as much, sometimes more. There is a window of time that lasts about 60 seconds after everything settles. And what happens in that window shapes how she remembers the entire experience. Here is what commonly goes wrong. The body pulls away. Someone rolls over to catch their breath, reaches for water, or falls into complete silence. None of that is meant badly. It is often just exhaustion or habit. But inside her nervous system, that sudden withdrawal feels confusing. The person who was just completely present and connected is now suddenly distant. Her brain does not logically process that as tiredness. It emotionally processes it as abandonment. Not dramatic abandonment, but a tiny invisible crack in the sense of safety. The secret is so simple that it almost sounds too small to matter. But it changes everything. Instead of pulling away, you pull her closer. Not for more intensity, just for closeness. Rest your cheek against her shoulder or her stomach. Breathe slowly. Say nothing profound. No need for poetic words or checking in with a bunch of questions. Just steady, warm, wordless presence for about 60 seconds. That short span of time tells her nervous system something unforgettable. You are not here for a result. You are here for her. And that feeling of being treasured rather than used stays with her long after you part ways. It becomes part of how she feels about you the next time and the time after that. The afterglow is not empty space. It is the seal on everything that came before. So let me bring this all together for you. You have heard 5 different pieces of the puzzle, but none of them work alone. The safety breath means nothing without the patience to listen for micro yeses. The micro yeses lose their power if you do not understand the arc instead of the target. And even the most beautiful rhythm will flatten out without the courage to pause in the stillness. All of that effort can still fade away if you forget what happens in those 60 seconds after everything settles. Here is what I really want you to take with you. None of these secrets are tricks. They are not lines to memorize or techniques to perfect. They are simply an invitation to slow down enough to notice what has always been there. Her tiny shifts, her breath changes, her silent pauses, the way her body tells the truth even when her words stay quiet. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to be present. The difference between someone she barely remembers and someone she cannot forget is not about skill. It is about attention. It is about staying in the room with her, even when things get quiet, even when you feel uncertain, even when every instinct tells you to speed up or show off or perform. She does not want a performance. She wants to feel safe enough to stop performing herself. That is the real secret underneath all 5 of these. And the best part, you already have everything you need to give that to her. Just breathe, stay, listen, and trust that the quiet moments are never empty. They are where she finally feels seen. If this video spoke to you, hit like, subscribe to Feminine Insight for more unspoken truths, and comment 1 word below if you're ready to listen differently. Present.